Welcome back to the Independent Republic of Mike Graham, right here on Talk TV. Always enjoy talking to Dale Vince, because whether or not you agree with him, and I don't agree with very much that he says at all, he always gives a good account of himself, and he's the kind of person we like here at the Independent Republic of Mike Graham. And I'll tell you who else we like to have on from time to time. William Clouston, who is here from the Social Democratic Party. Welcome.
Great.
Thank you very much for coming in. Nice to see you. We were just talking, actually, there with Dale Vince about the dreadful state of our energy markets and the dreadful state of the cost of living. I've just seen, just before we started talking, Sadiq Khan's going to put up the council tax in London by about 40 quid on average. People's energy bills are still going up. They will supposedly settle down, but they'll settle down to about twice what they were this time last year. And there doesn't seem to be any sort of, relief in sight for people who are having trouble to paying their bills, particularly people in the commercial sector. Yeah,
and 1.4 million people are going to have their mortgages reviewed, going off fixes. So no, the outlook's pretty bleak. I think you can either talk about the things that are going on now with energy and bills and so on, or and all the strikes, or you can stop a little bit and ask why it's all happening. And actually, I think it's a good idea to do that occasionally. And I think the ultimate cause is our trade problem. You won't hear any Tory or Labour politician mention this, but that's the basic cause of all this. If you go back, we basically we buy more than we sell. We have a trade gap.
And that's because we don't make very much.
Don't make very much, we don't make enough. And so it's obvious, right, if you stop and think about it, you don't make enough, we liquidate our assets every year to pay for imports. That's happening before our eyes. We get a little bit poorer every year. It's been going on a long time, and neither government, New Labour or Tories, have done anything about this. They've let it happen. And that's why, in the end, you get living standards falling and it gets tighter and tighter. I think it's, that's the broad picture. You need to reindustrialise a bit. And you need to, when was the last time, Mike, you heard a British politician saying, think about buying British?
Yes. Not very often do you hear it at all. But I'll tell you what's interesting is that we do see sort of repeated claims from both sides, Labour and Tories, that they can build up this new renewable energy business and there'll be lots of jobs created. And if that was true, then you might say, OK, well, that sounds like a decent industry to be involved in, if it works, if it produces jobs, if it produces cheaper energy. But I don't see it somehow.
I don't see it. I mean, it's the wind power is going to happen anyway. Particularly in remote Scotland and offshore wind. It's in the pipeline and all that stuff. Anyway, that does help with the balance of payments. Actually, you're not importing, but as we all know,
but it doesn't seem to be helping with the price, though.
No, it doesn't. Well, that's because of this crazy system we have. It's a bit like the triple lock. The cost of producing renewable energy from wind has not increased, right? It has not increased, and yet the way Ofgem works is that the customer is paying is getting cuffed for what's happening in the gas market. Crazy system.
But then the gas market prices are coming down at the same time.
And there's always a lag.
That's what Dale Vince was saying. But he was also saying that there was one day last week when 90% of our energy on the national grid was produced from renewables. Now I haven't seen that figure.
It's windy.
I don't know. But usually when it's windy, it's too windy. Usually they say we can't collect any energy from the wind turbines because it's too windy.
There's a daily dashboard you can have a look at and see what the proportion is. But the problem, there's nothing wrong with wind. There's nothing wrong with renewable energy. But it's not. You can't provide baseload from that. And the real neglect, as I've said many times before, I see no real prospect of it being challenged. Is nuclear. They've just neglected the baseload. Nuclear gets you 60 years of reliable, non-fluctuating cost.
And we could have had that if they built it in 2010 or started building it in 2010 instead of blocking it.
Well, yes, and I mean, I've said before, I blame Tony Blair, who preferred to go to war than do anything sensible at home. But these are the sort of, these are the people that are governing us. These are, to sort of get all Mourinho about it, these are specialists in failure. Both parties are specialists in failure. And then the other big thing that you talk about, the cost of living crisis for people listening now, the other big thing is housing. So neither party have done anything on housing. You have 1 million people coming in last year. Where do they expect these people to live? I mean, it's just, they won't build any houses. All of the sensible stuff they could have done has not happened.
But I say this a lot now. I find myself saying it a lot now whenever we talk about housing, is that everywhere I go in the southeast of England, certainly, they're building houses. There are housing estates going up all over the place, particularly in Kent and Sussex, right? However, what I don't know is what else they're building alongside them, because some of them are quite big. Yeah. And, in fact, they're building one very close to where my son goes to school. And I was driving past the other day. I said, where are they all going to go to school? Oh, they'll just go to school there. You know, which has only just now been knocked down and rebuilt to house the numbers of people they've got at the moment. There'll be like double the amount of people now going to the same school. How does that work?
We don't own doctor surgeries and other facilities. Yeah. No, we don't plan any.
There's no hospital that's being built. There's no train station that's getting expanded. There's no bus services that are getting added on. Nothing.
Planning's been a bit of a dirty word, though, isn't it? I mean, that's the reality. And they've drunk the Kool-Aid on leave the market to everything. Everything's a market. The market, actually, to be fair to it on housing, has not really changed. You know, if you look at the figures. 1970, about 170,000 homes were built by the private sector. It's roughly the same. Fluctuates. In a bad year, it's 150,000, 180,000, sometimes 200,000. Yeah. But it never changes very much. The big player that's been deliberately taken off the table here is state sector capacity in house building. They've ruined that, and we've had so-called Labour governments over the years have done nothing about it. I see no Starmer. I wouldn't rely on him to do anything about it. He
doesn't even talk a good game.
Well, he does when he wants to be elected. How would you feel if you're a normal Labour Party member? Right, you want to vote a new Labour.
I don't even know what that is.
Well, maybe there aren't too many of them, but let's say you are.
Nowadays, I'd be living in Putney in a house worth about £1.5 million, driving a Volvo.
Normal. That's probably normal.
That would be normal Labour Party.
But anyway, so if let's say you're a Labour Party member from the Midlands or the North East or something, and you want to elect a leader, and the leader a certain person promises nationalisation of the utilities. Nationalisation of the railways. He promises these things.
Yes, and a new energy company.
Yeah, new energy. Well, that's nonsense. If you look at the scale of what he's proposing, a little thing that's £3 billion. I get very irritated. I'm doing dry January, by the way, so I'm snippy.
That's good.
I'm snippy with these.
Well done. I'm not.
No, I've only done it twice, but the second time. But so I'm snippy with the Tories and the Labour Party. But the thing is that it's nonsense. It doesn't do any heavy lifting at all. And he's reneged. He's reneged on his basic. Now, nationalisation of the utilities is actually quite popular policy.
It is now.
SDP policy, yeah, it is,
because they're so ridiculously badly run.
Yeah, and also the public are thinking, well, why do we need 80 or 90 people taking a punt on the wholesale energy cost to provide me electricity? It's not. This is stupidity.
Right.
And a lot of it's owned by foreign investors, so we're just siphoning off money abroad. Yeah. This is crazy.
And getting no benefit.
Got to stop doing this. We must stop doing this.
Okay. We've just got to stop for a moment because we've got to get some news headlines, but we'll be back. William Clouston is here. We've got to talk to him about a great many things, as well as not just energy, also the future of this country, of course, as well. This is Talk TV. He representing. Another story we want to talk about this morning, though, with William Clouston, who's here from the SDP. I don't know if you saw this. The HMRC apparently failed to collect £42 billion last year as a result of various different reasons, but much of it to do with COVID, apparently, because they were sort of redirecting investigative units, because an awful lot of people in this country obviously don't pay enough tax, and they need to have it sort of wheedled out of them. And if HMRC aren't going after it, then there's a problem, isn't there?
Well, it's a big problem, Mike. It's a £42 billion problem. That's colossal. Just think about it.
Well, what could you do with that? You could certainly give the nurses a pay rise, couldn't you?
Well, in a normal year, it's a bit distorted now with HS2 and patronage going down the railways, but in a normal year, the public subsidy to the railways is about 8 billion, right? So this is the order of magnitude. This is huge compared to that. No, it's a problem. It's always a problem. I think there are probably three causes of this 42 billion not being collected. There's a collapse in productivity in the public sector, which is a serious problem. I wonder how many of the HMRC people are still at home.
I'm sure there are probably almost all of them.
Quite a few. Yeah. I think that's a problem. I think a lot of it is post-pandemic tail. I think you think about how much was shelled out by the government in the pandemic.
Well, once you get into billions and billions of pounds being given away and or collected, it ceases to have any meaning, doesn't it?
Well,
it becomes something abstract if people don't take it seriously.
People must take it seriously, and only if you really despise your grandchildren would you have that attitude, because you're really messing it up for them. You're messing it up. This quantum of debt that we keep on building up, we've got to get real. But yeah,
But actually, is there? I know I don't want to get too philosophical about debt, but is there no longer a point at which people worry about debt, though? Because I mean, one of the things I say to people a lot, I don't know if it's like up where you are in the North East, but everywhere I go at the moment, it's absolutely rammed with people. You know, the car parks in the supermarkets are all full. Supermarkets are full of people. I'm told by people like Peter Hitchens that people are buying stuff on credit cards, because I don't know why they'd be doing that, though, if they were worried about the cost of living. Because if I was worried about the cost of living, I wouldn't be spending more money, I'd be spending less money.
It's a major problem, yeah. If you look at it technically, macro, a lot of the source of corporate profits in this country is what they call household saving. So they are literally either selling something they already have, their wealth is decreasing, or they're taking on more debt.
Yes.
And that's what they're doing. You see that a lot. We're sort of a debt culture, aren't we?
But that's what I mean. Do they see the government borrowing more money and inventing money and printing money, if you like, and just doing quantitative easing here, there and everywhere, that they go, well, if they're doing it, we might as well do it.
Well, 4.5 billion, and I always like to say 4,500 million, that's what it is, of this 42 billion is COVID problems with debts, and unpaid and fraud.
I mean, that's the proper long COVID, isn't it?
That's the problem, yeah. And so, and also the other aspect is I think we are heading towards a low trust society where it's seen as acceptable by some people to just stiff the government in this way. You remember last year, I think it was Lord Agnew, wasn't it, who was the anti-corruption minister,
right?
And he actually resigned on his feet at the dispatch box, saying, "This is theft."
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not going to stand for it.
Right.
So he walked.
And now we've got all these investigations into various companies that may or may not have provided dodgy PPE.
For sure, yeah. No, it's going to take a long time to unwind. They've got to do their best. Certainly, they've got to improve on this tax gap. This is a huge tax gap, massive problem.
They've got to get better at doing their jobs, it seems to me. I mean, but I do fear, and I was saying this the other day, some people, Julia particularly, was not happy with me, when I said, that sort of space Virgin Orbit experiment was kind of, to me, an allegory of what's wrong with Britain. You can get the plane up in the air, but you can't fire the rockets. And when you do fire the rockets, they go wrong, they go missing, all of this money. And then I listened to what was said by the people who were in charge of the project, and it was the same. And I know I'm going to sound slightly bitter here, but it was the same as when England got knocked out of the World Cup. It was all like, oh, we were all together, we all hugged and cried, and we were able to, say how happy we were that we'd got this far, and there's so much more we can do. And it's like, no, you failed.
Yeah,
you got it wrong. The thing didn't work. You've spent a fortune of tataxpayers' money on it. And what do we get out of it? Yeah. Absolutely bugger all.
No, we have. No, you're quite right. And the metaphor,
it really annoys
the metaphor.
It actually annoys me.
Use that metaphor. No, it is. This country's being run. It's like the supermarket trolley with the wobbly wheel.
Yeah.
Another way we have described it as you've got Rolls-Royce costs and Trabant services.
Yes.
That's what you end up. And people get annoyed about that.
Yeah.
But all of this is caused by unseriousness by the people that govern us. They seem unable to do the basics. If I said to you, Mike, in a region, split up the country up into regions and have a housing programme and build some houses, can the state do that? Apparently not.
No.
It can't. It doesn't even want to. Same as the open borders thing. People do get annoyed.
Yeah.
And anyway,
we're sick to death of seeing yet more hotels, and we're going to be doing this later on in the week, because there's another one, I think, somewhere near Northampton, which has been commandeered, taken over by the government, by the Home Office, fortunes being paid out, and this is after we've been told by Rishi Sunak that that's not going to happen anymore. Yeah,
but I'll just put it down again. Most of what the Tories are doing is about news management and not about actually doing anything. And hey, let's be optimistic. It's a new year. Next year we will have an election. And I'm pledging to have 100 candidates plus on throughout the country. Yes. That's sufficient if people vote for us to have the balance of power. I'm not getting carried away, but that's what we're doing. Let's be positive.
Well, last time we spoke, you were talking about doing some deals possibly with Reform UK, with Richard Tice. Is that coming along as you thought?
We've done a deal, yeah. We've secured a deal. We've got a deal to stand down in 6 target seats each, so we have 6 that they won't stand in, and vice versa. But more excitingly, actually, we've got a whole region which is South Yorkshire, where we're going to do that. We're going to fight those elections together.
Right.
Basically, very high level of cooperation and a joint description. So they take 7 seats probably, and we take 7, and that'll be very exciting. And I'll put this marker down. I don't often do this, but I think seats will fall to that.
And is this in local council situation?
No, this is in the next general election.
Okay.
The next general, it's a high level of cooperation in South Yorkshire.
I mean, you'd like to think that would be the case. If nothing else, just to change the record, because the two-party system, for an awful lot of people, is a bust and doesn't really deliver anything for most people. However, the way that it's constructed makes it very hard to break. Yeah,
but please stop voting for it's madness to continue to vote for these people who, as I say, are specialists in failure. And I've never denied that the SDP and Reform have different outlooks on economics, particularly. There's quite sharp differences there. But what have we done? We agree on constitutional reform, we agree on electoral reform, we agree with them that we should have a proper border, and we agree that the country is good enough to govern itself. And that, to us, is a sufficient reason to cooperate, and it's going well. Yeah,
that's good to know, because there are people out there who tell me every single day that I'm here that they just want an alternative. Yeah. And reform comes up a lot. In fact, myself and Kevin O'Sullivan did a live show in London just before Christmas, and an awful lot of people were coming up to me and saying, will they run? Will they put, candidates all over the country? Will they do it? And so you just need to get your name attached to that.
They will do. I'm sure that they're bigger than us. They will do. I think they intend to have candidates in most constituencies. We're looking for 100 plus, which is enough for us to get a party election broadcast and to get, as I say, if we get people across the line, we hold the balance of power. That's what we're trying to do. And actually things can happen very quickly in politics in Western Europe and the West now. So just let's change things.
There is some precedent now, so it's something that you can look forward to. Yeah. Well, I should look forward to it as well. William, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Good luck with the rest of dry January. February the 1st is looming large. You don't want to be around then, probably. William Clouston, back another time soon, right here on the Independent Republican Mike Graham. Coming up...